The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm with Jack Degraw, and we are talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you today, Robert?
I'm doing good. We got good news. The Yankees won their fourth straight game, which is really good news considering the 20 games before they were 5-15. So maybe it looks like they're turning things around.
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, it looked like 89 through 92. But, this four-game winning streak is, just what they needed, and the pitching has been outstanding.
Yeah, their starting pitching has been brilliant the last 5 games, and they're only a game back in the loss column of the Blue Jays for second place. So, depending on what Toronto does tonight, if they lose, Yankees could take over second place by half a game.
Well, they had the Yankees and the Jays got 7 games against each other, so that's going to settle that.
It's just it's amazing how before the season, the 60-game season started, they were projecting the Yankees to win. I think it was 42 games, and I remember thinking they would have to go 7-3 every 10 games, and I thought they would have to go 6-4 at best. And so far, this year they're 25-21 with 14 games left.
Well, yeah, they were like 16-6 there for after 22 games, and then they're 21-21, and they've had 7 games losing streaks, and they've had 5 game losing streaks, and we were talking off air. A lot of the guys that produced last year, they really haven't done much this year. So it's it's been a disappointment.
And like a 6-game or 7-game losing streak is equivalent to a 17-game losing streak in a normal season, and that's going to hurt you. And it did. It hurt the Yankees because right now I don't see them overtaking the Rays for first place. The Yankees got to settle for second place.
No, during that terrible stretch, they lost like 5 games when they had the lead late in the game. When you're ahead 4-1 the 5th inning, the games are only 7 innings. When you're ahead 6-2 in the 7th, for years, the Yankees after the 7th inning very rarely lost. They might have, won 97% of their games, and then they were losing like in the late innings, almost every single night. Yeah.
And the only guy that seems to be producing has been Luke Voit. He's been their one constant all year. There could be an argument made for him being MVP. Because I think he leads the American League with 16 home runs, and he's got 37 RBIs.
Yeah, he's been consistent all year. For a game or two, they even had him bat and lead off. Yeah. So that's how. That's how much the lineup's been struggling.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit today too, because in extra innings he fouled off I think maybe 4 or 5 nasty pitches, sliders, and 99-mile-an-hour fastballs, and finally was able to get one he could hit out to center field that was able to drive in LeMahieu from third base. He hit a sac fly to win the game in extras.
Yeah, he almost always has good at bats. He's like LeMahieu in the regard, they always go up there with a plan, and they always, not always, but they always, they almost always seem to come through. They got a plan when they go up there. They're just not trying to hit the ball 450 feet.
And they put up a stat today. He's one of the fastest players, one of the fastest Yankees ever to 50 home runs. I think he's 2 games ahead of Alex Rodriguez, or I think it's like 5th or 6th on the all-time list. But Babe Ruth's number 1. He hit 50 home runs in 136 games. But he's been productive since the Yankees acquired him.
Yeah, you wonder where they would be without him this year, because there's so many guys in the lineup, that are under 200.
Yeah.
And you got Sanchez, you got Gardner, and
Mike Ford.
Yeah.
And even Hicks is batting just over 200 at 207, and he I think he went 0 for 2 today with 2 walks. So I don't know what that brought his average down to, but it's hovering just above 200.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we'll get Stanton or Judge back, and like you were saying off air, Robert. I know they're in Scranton now, so.
Yeah, and they're going to send them to the alternate. Is that where the alternate site is, Scranton?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully, they might be back. You said what? And by maybe next weekend, they could be.
Yeah, they were talking maybe next weekend.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get them some at bats. I mean, it's a shame because Stanton, he started off the season great. He looked great. He's batting .293 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs in 14 games, and he's been out with a calf injury ever since. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, last year when these guys came back late in the year, the team was playing so well that, you wonder if they would disrupt chemistry, but now they're not hitting at all.
Yeah.
So, they really need one of these 2 guys to come back because, you can't win every game, scoring 2 runs.
Yeah, and I want to ask you this. With, let's say both Stanton and Judge come back. Judge goes to right field. Stanton goes to DH. Do you put Clint Frazier in left field over Brett Gardner? That's something I would do. Or do you think they're going to, leave Gardner in at left?
Well, this is what I would do, Robert. I think I would put Frazier in left field.
Yeah.
But the way the Yankees are, I'm not surprised if you got Brett Gardner out there.
Yeah, Clint Frazier, he's batting .270 with 5 homers and 19 RBIs. He had a triple today. And he had a sac fly in the bottom of the first to drive in a run. He's been productive since he's been playing. Brett Gardner, he's batting .183. I know he had 3 hits yesterday in the first game, and including, I think, a 2-run homer. But, he's been pretty quiet this year.
Yeah, Frazier's done a good job defensively, too. I don't know. I think, personally, this is it for Brett Gardner with the Yankees. You got Andujar, you got Frazier, and it's about time, you make a decision what you're going to do with these guys. Gardy's been a good Yankee, but, it might be time to go elsewhere or retire.
And Frazier, I give him credit. He has improved defensively out there. He made a great diving catch a few games back. I don't know if you saw it. He dove for a ball. It was an impressive catch. So, he's improved his defense out there.
Yeah, I've seen him make 3 or 4 nice plays out there. And, right field is tough to play. I know he had that terrible game last year against the Red Sox, but, he worked hard on his defense, and, he's actually an asset as a right fielder.
And I was ranting to you off air about Miguel Andujar. And today I got really mad in the bottom of the 6th because Andujar has been one of their best hitters in September. He, like I was telling you off air, he has the highest slugging percentage and highest on-base plus slugging percentage. The only player with a higher batting average than him in September is Gleyber Torres. But Andujar, he's batting .321 with 2 doubles, a triple, a homer, and 5 RBIs in 8 games in September. And in the bottom of the 6th, the game was tied 1-1. They had Torres on second with 2 out, and Estrada was coming up, who was 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, and Boone sent up Mike Ford to pinch hit, and I was surprised because, Ford's been struggling this year, and, Andujar last night had a 2-run double. He's been swinging a hot bat, and they brought in the lefty, and I was shocked that he didn't, put Andujar up there against the lefty instead of Ford, but Ford ended up walking, and then Talkman came up, and I thought, okay, we pinch hit for Talkman, who hadn't done anything in the game and really hasn't done much at all this year. But they didn't pitch it. They didn't pitch it for him, and Talkman hit a lazy fly ball to left field to end the inning. You know, it just seems like they don't trust Andujar, or he's not part of their future. I'm confused with what they're doing with him.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I know on Sunday he made an error and Boone called him out on that. But you know, he's got an excellent bat. He always gets nice cuts at the ball, and it's getting to a point, like after this season, either trade the guy or find a position for him, because it's really getting monotonous is what it is. Yeah, and like I've had arguments about his defense at third. I know it hasn't been good this year, but also he didn't play all of 2019, and when he was cleared to finally do baseball activities, he started trying to learn to play the outfield. And in spring training, he was in the outfield trying to get accustomed to it, and he was also playing first base. So he's really a guy who hasn't played third base since 2018. So, I mean, being a little rusty is expected from a guy like Andujar, who's not that great defensively at third anyway. But, I mean, in 2018 when he played, the Yankees won 100 games, and defensively it wasn't that big of an issue. I think he just needs just needs to play. But the Yankees don't want to seem to take that chance defensively this year, with the shortened season and everything. Yeah, and I think it's another thing. They've been struggling so much. It was even like, they're just trying to get in the playoffs now. Yeah. And when you're 21-21, and it's like you're playing the Orioles, and you have to win those games. You lose 3 out of 4, you might not even be in the playoffs. I mean, there's no guarantee they're even going to be in the playoffs unless they win unless they win 7 or 8, 9 games the rest of the year. So, I don't know. I think maybe they've lost some confidence in Andujar. Yeah, but it's still, he's swinging such a hot bat at the moment. It's like, why don't you at least then DH him? I just don't get why they don't even do that. I mean, they had him in the lineup for Thursday, but that got postponed, so they played the doubleheader Saturday, and he only played in the second game, and he had a 2-run double, and he was out of the lineup today. And, and for a team that's struggling to score runs, you'd think you want a bat that's hot in the lineup every day. Yeah, that's what you would think. I mean, they have Sanchez DHing, and, he struggled all year. I mean, he's had a couple big hits, but for the most part, I mean, he hasn't looked good at the plate at all. No, I mean, he's down to batting 130 on the year. Yeah, and you have a guy in the lineup like that with all with Strada not hitting and Wade not hitting and Hicks and Gardner. It's like you look at the Yankee lineup sometime and it looks like. It's not hard to find out why they've been playing so badly. And Michael Kay, he's right. Michael Kay has been complaining that it's like Talkman all of a sudden can't hit a fastball. And, after watching more closely, he's right. I mean, he's late on the fastballs. He's missing them. And if he does make contact, it's usually a lazy fly ball to left field. Like today in the bottom of the 6th, he got a fastball and he was late, and it was an easy pop-up to left field. It just seems like he's struggling to hit a fastball. Yeah, and that's never a good thing to see. I mean, when major league hitters have trouble hitting fastballs, that gets around the league quickly. Yeah. And, if you lose that ability, you're not going to be around too long. No. And there is one player who recently came up, Deivi Garcia. He's looked very impressive on the mound. He even has this swagger to him on the mound. Yeah, I mean he's got this pitch that it just accelerates as it gets to home plate, and it can be 92, 93, and it looks like it's 100. I mean, he just got such a nice motion. and he looks like he belongs out there. I mean, he doesn't look overwhelmed by the situation at all.
No, and he's got a really nice curveball, I think it is, to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, he won a big game the other night. I mean, just for them to get back to, to get over 500, and with him pitching well and Tanaka and then Cole, it's if they get in the playoffs, that's a pretty good threesome to have.
Yeah, I mean, Tanaka, his ERA is 3.16. Garrett Cole 3.20. I mean, those two make a very good 1-2 punch in the postseason.
Yeah, hopefully they can keep it up, and you get some of the big bats coming back, and who knows in a short season? You don't know what the heck's going to happen.
Yeah, because right now I think we got the wild card, but with Paxton out, you got to wonder who the third pitcher is, and it'll come down to, I guess, Garcia, Happ, or Montgomery. You would think, in a short, best of what is it? The first round's best of 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. God, I hope we don't play Tampa Bay.
well, I mean, one of the things, Robert, with the bullpen, the way it's been struggling, I mean, even the name players really haven't come through. The guys who, Chapman, Ottavino, and all the guys who would expect to perform, like Green's been up and down.
Yeah.
So they've had the starters, going late in the games. Cole pitching 7 innings. They got Tanaka, throwing 6-7 innings. Happ went 6 2/3.
Yeah.
Garcia 95, 96 pitches. So that's very on Yankee-like. Usually after 75, 80 pitches, they would take Garcia and Tanaka out, but with bullpen struggling, they've left them in.
Yeah, they did that with Montgomery today. He got up to about 70 pitches. I think he was pitching. He got 2 outs in the 6th, but they went to Chad Green because the bullpens had a few days of rest, so they went to their formula, and it worked today. But you're right; they've been letting the pitchers, the starters, these last 4 or 5 games, go as long as they can.
Yeah, and I mean, in defense of some of the bullpen guys, I mean, they have been overused. They're pitching all the time.
Yeah.
So, that caught up to them.
And the Yankees, it shows you how important Tommy Canale was. He was a big, piece of that bullpen, and we haven't had him for the season so far, and I think that's hurt them too.
Yeah, that's really hurt him. And when you seem like when Britton was hurt for a while.
Yeah, those are 2 big pieces.
Yeah, you can tell how good these guys are, because when they're not there, you can tell what important roles they have.
Yeah, and I can't believe that Yankees only have 14 games left in the season, and they got 1 more with Baltimore, then 3 with Toronto, 3 with Boston, 4 with Toronto, and then they finish off 3 against the Marlins. So the season's only got a couple weeks left. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting thing, Robert, is if the Marlins, if the season ended today, would be in the playoffs.
I know, isn't that something? Some people even talked about how Don Mattingly should be manager of the year, considering all the difficulties he's had to face to start the season with all the players that had to be sat down because of the coronavirus. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I think it would be pretty cool. If the Yankees don't win, to have the Marlins win the World Series. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2020. Anything I wouldn't be surprised with anything this year.
Yeah, it's like one day the next. You never know what the next surprise is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, my God. But, the Rays do scare me getting them in the first round, because they would have to play 2 games, right, in Tampa?
Well, the way it works, Robert, I believe all the games would be in Tampa.
Oh, that would be brutal. Yeah, the Yankees just can't seem to win down there.
Yeah, I was checking the stats the other day. Since like 2010, the Yankees and the Yankees have won one more game.
Wow.
And the all-time rivalry, because the Rays were bad for a long time. The Yankees are up by almost 65 games, but in the last 10 years, it's it's dead even practically. Yeah,
and I think Oakland has a one-game lead over Tampa for the best record in the American League, but Oakland just lost one of their best hitters in Chapman, who hit 36 home runs last year, and he had 10 this year, and they lost him for the rest of the season to a hip injury. So Oakland might, they just lost one of their best players, and that can probably help the Rays get the best record in the American League.
Yeah, but a short series, you never know what's going to happen. It would be nice if some of the teams, not the big name teams, if the Yankees don't get it, being a Yankee fan, it'd be nice to see maybe Oakland winning or the Marlins, like that.
Yeah, I would be rooting for Miami just because I'm a Mattingly fan.
Yeah, he was a great Yankee, and one of the things we were bringing up that drives me crazy is all these guys nowadays, they lift weights and they're always hurt. It just drives me nuts. When a guy's running the first base or second base and he gets injured, it's like, you got to start thinking in the off season, work on flexibility. I mean, what's the difference if you hit a ball 550 or 450?
Yeah.
I mean, ride a bike, shoot a basketball, play tennis, play racquetball. You don't have to be powerlifting, 3-4 times a week. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember an interview Don Mattingly gave. He said, the home runs will come. If you just look to drive the ball, the home runs will come. You don't got to try to hit them. If you just try to drive the ball somewhere hard, they'll come. But these guys today, they like to bulk up and try to knock them out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, Mattingly wasn't a big guy.
No.
I mean, Winfield was a big guy, but he wasn't muscle bound or anything.
No.
He hit the ball harder than anybody.
Yeah, and Pete Rose, I've said this plenty of times, Pete Rose said once the season was over, he didn't touch a bat or a baseball or anything until spring training. He stayed in shape playing like tennis or, golf or basketball, something, but he never lifted weights or did this cross training or, any of that kind of stuff these guys do today.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you're getting hurt, it's time to look why you're getting injured all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just ridiculous. I mean, you remember guys like 30, 40 years ago. I mean, look at a guy like Roy White. Roy would play more than 150 games a year. And, he wasn't that big of a guy. And, when the Yankees had Horace Clark, you look at some of these guys, it looked like if they farted, they cracked 3 ribs. But they would play 150, 160 games a year. And now you get these muscle-bound guys, and they get hurt running the first base.
Yeah.
Or swinging a bat.
It's like, I remember footage of Luke Voigt trying to outdo Giancarlo Stanton in the weight room, who could bench press more and squat more, and it's just, it drives me crazy because you're right. Like Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield, these guys weren't in the weight room. I mean, and Mattingly, that from 84 to 87 put up numbers that were just, unbelievable. I mean, I think he, for those 4 years, averaged 30 home runs and 121 RBIs. It's just unbelievable. Those, and I think his batting average was .337 for those 4 years, that 4-year period.
And you look at the other, a lot of other power guys. The Yankees had Bobby Mercer. Bobby used to hit a whole lot of home runs until he got to Shea, and then you got Nettle. Nettles hit a lot of homers, and he wasn't like a big muscle-bound guy, but even Joe Pepitone used to hit a lot of home runs. they're not like big muscle pound guys, but they were flexible and they were strong and they hit the ball hard.
Yeah, and that's why guys like back in the day like Mantle and Mays, those ballparks that those old timers used to play in. I don't think people realize the dimensions. I mean, 450 to center field in some of those ballparks back in the day. Today these ballparks are built to hit home runs.
Yeah, well, I mean, the old Yankee Stadium, the real Yankee Stadium, before they remodeled it after 1973, I mean, you hit a ball 450 feet, and the center fielder would be camping under it. And now you don't have to be lifting all these weights. I mean, the parks are smaller, and lefties are hitting the ball out the right field, home runs, and the righties are hitting them. They're hitting them out all over. So it really doesn't mean as much.
And I wonder if some of the younger Yankee fans today realize that back in the day, Monument Park used to be on the field of play in center field at the old Yankee Stadium. That's how deep center field was.
Yeah, it was just massive. I mean, the place was like, down the lines, the right field line was 296, the left field line I believe was like 312. But I mean, you get out to center field, it was 463, 481. It was just unbelievable how massive and big the ballpark was. I mean, it makes you think how many home runs would Mickey Mantle have hit, would Joe D have hit in ballparks like this. So something to think about.
And we were talking off air. Yesterday was 9/11, and of course everyone remembers the terrorist attack. And we were talking about the Yankees, what they did those 3 games at home during the World Series. But also, 35 years ago on that day, Pete Rose passed Ty Cobb for the most hits all time. And to me, I still think Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, just with the way Pete played the game, and nobody loved baseball more than Pete Rose.
Yeah,
and nobody has more knowledge and appreciation of the sport, the history than Pete Rose. I mean, he screwed up big time.
He did, yeah. But also today, Major League Baseball, that they encourage gambling. I mean, there's for the fans, they encourage the fans to gamble. I mean, they're raking in millions and probably even billions of dollars on gambling. So it's just that it's kind of like I think he's been punished enough. I mean, it'd be one thing if he bet on his team to lose. Then I would say no. That's just crossing the line. But he was betting them to win, not to lose. To me, that there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's time to say, he screwed up, and it's time to give the man his due because, I'd hate to see him get elected to the Hall of Fame till after he, passes away, because he's got so much to offer. I mean, even if you don't want him to have a big league job, just have him going around, talking to minor leaguers. Yeah, and given his knowledge of. Mass knowledge of baseball. I mean, it's just, he was a discredit to the game for a while, but overall, he's a credit to baseball. He's a very inspirational player. I mean, he didn't have great talents, but
who's that catcher he plowed in the All-Star game? Remember that catcher he just ran over in the All-Star game back in the 70s? I think it was in the 70s.
Ray Fosse.
But, okay, I mean, you would never see something like that in today's game. I mean, he went all out when he played.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, Robert, is the night before, him and Ray Fosse went out to dinner.
No kidding. He still did it.
And another thing about a couple weeks earlier, the Indians played the Yankees in a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium. That's the doubleheader. Mercer hit 4 home runs. And Steve Hamilton threw the folly floater to Tony Horton. But somebody threw a cherry bomb from the upper deck and it blew up by Ray Fosse's foot.
No kidding.
And he suffered, I think, he had a bad burn. And a couple of weeks later, he got creamed by Pete Rose at home plate. And Fosse looked like he was going to be, a consistent all-star catcher. He was still a good catcher the rest of his career, but he was never the same after the collision at home plate.
Wow. And that's a nice little piece of history, too. I didn't know that. Wow. And we were also talking off the air about Tom Seaver, and there was something you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, growing up, Robert, I've always been a Yankee fan, but, if you're a baseball fan, you had to appreciate what a great pitch Seaver was, and especially, me being in New Jersey, I just remember, watching him pitch, and you knew you were seeing something special. And when he'd come on after the game on Kiner's Corner and talk to Ralph Kiner, if they ever have anything like that on YouTube, the guy was like, every pitch had a purpose.
Yeah.
And he was like just a master out there. It was something special to see.
I'm looking at some of his stats right now. 1971, he had an ERA of 1.76, and he started 35 games that year, went 20-10, and he had, 21 complete games. He went 20-10 with a 1.76 ERA and completed 21 of those games.
Yeah, and I remember one game Seaver pitched. He struck out like 19 batters against the Padres. And I think he struck out the last 10 in a row.
Wow. Yeah, he led the league, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in strikeouts. Over 3,600 career strikeouts.
Yeah, wow. He was just incredible. And Robert, in 1969, 1970, the Mets won, the Knicks won, the Jets won. And they haven't done a damn thing since. But it was just like a great time to be, a fan in New York.
Yeah, he 311 career wins with an ERA of 2.86 for his career. That's a hell of an ERA to have for a career. And
I seen Seaver pitch twice live. I seen him in '83. He beat the Expos, and then I seen him in 1986 when he was with the Red Sox. And he pitched against the Yankees, and the Yankees knocked him around a little. I think he gave up 5 or 6 runs in 4 innings, and Danny Pasqua hit a home run off him. And I was looking on Retro Sheet, and that was Tom Seaver's last start in New York.
Wow.
And he pitched once more. Yeah, that was his next one. Sorry, Robert.
Yeah, it's a shame he got injured because that was the year the Red Sox faced the Mets in the World Series. Yeah,
he never got a chance to pitch in the series, and would have been pretty cool if he come back and pitched Game 7 and beat the Mets.
Yeah, because in '86 he started 12 games for the White Sox, going 2-6, and then he went to. I guess he was traded to the Red Sox, where he had 16 games. He pitched, went 5-7 with a 3.80 ERA. Yeah,
the record wasn't good, but he still pitched some pretty good baseball and stuff. So it's a sad day. Because he was one of the greatest pitchers ever. And the thing is, Robert, I know I ramble on, but when he pitched, he used to his knee would touch the ground and his follow through. And if you watch Tanaka does that a little bit too sometimes.
No kidding.
You see that little dirt stain on their knee. And because Seaver had just a classic delivery. I mean, just watching it was like, it was just something special.
After he left the Mets, he went to Cincinnati from 77 to 82, and he was with the Mets again in 83. I thought, and it was just for 83. Then he was with the White Sox in 84. I thought he pitched longer with the Mets the second time around, but I guess he didn't.
Well, the first time we talked a little about it, the Mets traded him. They traded him and Dave Kingman in the same day, and there was a big thing going on with Dick Young, a sports writer, and Seaver. Dick Young said something about Seaver's wife, and Dick Young was signed over with the Met front office, and it was just a nightmare. When he come back in 83, the Mets botched the paperwork or something, and he wound up going to the White Sox, and he won his 300th game at Yankee Stadium. And if I'm not mistaken, that was also Phil Rizzuto Day. And the scooter fell with a cow that day.
Yeah, I remember that image. I remember that image. My God, I love Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah. I mean, nobody loved the Yankees more than Phil Rizzuto, and he was just, it's a pleasure to listen to him.
Yeah. I mean, I like Michael Kay, but I mean, growing up listening to Phil Rizzuto, I mean, he's my favorite all-time announcer, Yankee announcer. I mean, he was something to listen to, at least for 7 innings. Then he was gone.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Tom Seaver was a Yankee announcer for a few seasons.
Yeah. I remember him in the booth with Phil, and who was the other one? White, right? I can't forget.
Oh, Bill White. Bill White, Bobby Holter.
Yeah. Phil Rizzuto, the holy cow. I mean, I loved him listening to call a game. I bring this up all the time, but that time he said "holy shit" instead of "holy cow," and it was just dead silent in the booth for like 30 seconds. Because someone dropped down a bunt that no one would have expected, and even he had to let it. Holy shit! That was something. But I also remember growing up, he always used to. He used to go on about bunting and how to bunt. He was surprised more people didn't know how to bunt, and he used to go on about how the proper way to bunt. Was he a really good bunter? Was he someone who was known to bunt a lot as a player?
Oh yeah. When he was the MVP in 1950, and he was a terrific bunter. I mean, there was one game they were playing the Indians, and late in the season, and Phil laid down a perfect bunt, and DiMaggio, scored from third base, and I think Bob Lemon, who later became a Yankee manager and was a Hall of Fame pitcher with the Indians, just went insane. I think he ripped up the clubhouse afterwards. But the Scooter was an outstanding player, and Ted Williams said the difference between his Red Sox teams and the Yankee teams was the little Dago at shortstop.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see Ted Williams saying that. Yeah. And you mentioned Dave Kingman a minute ago, and with the Mets in 75 and 76, he had 36 and 37 home runs. I mean, he was when he hit home runs, there were no doubters.
Yeah, he used to hit them, straight up. They would go up like 480 feet, and then they would come down. And I remember one year, Robert, in spring training, the Yankees were playing the Mets in Fort Lauderdale. It was a Saturday night game. It was televised back to New York. And I think Kingman hit a couple home runs when he was with the Mets, and the Yankees lost the game 6-0. And George went crazy. Now, this is an exhibition game. Yeah. Billy and George got into it. And this was only, and then for years, the Yankees and the Mets didn't play exhibition games because George said the fans used to take it too seriously. No, it was George who took it too seriously.
Yeah. God bless him. Oh, man. Yeah, and I'm looking at Kingman's number. This is a guy who averaged in a 162-game season 37 home runs a year. And he finished with 442. But we were talking off the air that he was part of a lawsuit we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Kingman also played with the Yankees in '77 for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he hit like 4 homers. Yeah, he had like 442 homers, and he had 35 his last year. And what happened? He became a free agent, and a lot of the players filed a lawsuit because they didn't, get offered anything.
Yeah.
And Kingman was one of them. And because nobody offered him a contract. And I think one of the things was he wasn't the most popular player, but I think they were afraid, he played 2 or 3 years. He would have had 515 or 525 homers. And then if a guy hit 500 home runs, you're going to have a guy who with 520 homers who hit 236 for his career.
Yeah.
So I don't think they wanted that to happen.
Yeah, because his last 3 years he hit 35, 30, and then 35 again. And you're right, his career batting average was 236. But he averaged 37 home runs a year. The most he hit in the season was 48, and now it's back in 79 with the Cubs.
Yeah, and he was a big time slugger, and he also he played at USC, and he also he pitched a little bit for the USC Trojans when he was in college.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he had a terrific arm. He was a little indifferent playing the outfield, but you talk about one of the big sluggers. He's right up there with he's in the top 10, top 20 of all time.
Going back to the Yankees, we got the win today, which makes us 5-5 in our last 10 games, but we're still 5 games behind the Rays with 14 to go. I don't think we're going to catch the Rays, but I think if we play well against Toronto, we could at least get second place and maybe avoid playing the Rays in the first round.
Yeah, because the way it works, all the games are at the team, the top seeds, all 3 games in the first round are at their home park.
Yeah. Hey, this is a postseason. Oh, go on.
Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the postseason is going to be interesting.
Yeah, because you're going to have so many teams in it, and somebody gets hot, and like I say, you might see the Marlins win a World Series or the Oakland A's. Yeah,
they didn't just expand the playoffs. They went nuts with it. I think all the first place, second place teams are automatically in the playoffs, and then you got your 2 wild cards. So that's 8 teams in each division, 16 playoff teams total.
Yeah, when they first did that, Robert, I said, "What the hell are they doing that for? 8 teams?" And and if they didn't do it, the Yankees might not be in. So. Yeah. I'm glad they did what they did.
And we got like Hap going tomorrow, and then we got David Garcia Monday. The Yankees have off Monday. I think that might be their only off day for the rest of the season. I'm taking a look. Yeah, this coming Monday is the Yankees' only off day for the rest of the year. So once they have off on Monday, it's ball baseball for them, and they really need to keep their play up.
Yeah, can I mention something about the minor leagues, Robert, before we?
Oh yeah.
I just heard this week that a couple things. They're going to have instructional leagues this year.
Oh, really?
And the minor leagues will come down, and it used to last for maybe 3 weeks. But who knows now, it might last for a couple months. And the players are going to get paid, something they never did before. And I don't have they don't have any details out yet.
Yeah.
But there's going to be in a structural league, and the Yankees, they might they'll be playing at Hines, the complex down here in Tampa, but they could play like the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Tigers, and the Pirates, because they're all within 25 to 50 miles away. And I don't know how many games they'll play, but that's something to look forward to. And another thing, there's 40 teams that are going to get eliminated, from the minor leagues.
Wow.
And a couple things I heard is Scranton and Tampa are still going to be Yankee affiliates.
Yeah.
Now, the Somerset Patriots are in the Atlantic League, and Somerset might be a Yankee AA team. So the Trenton Thunder, or whatever they are, the pork chops now, I don't know what the hell they call them. Trenton might play in Somerset, and Tampa might move up to Trenton.
Wow.
And, they're going to play a lot of games at the complex. What are you going to say, Robert?
40 teams, that's a lot that are going to, that's just,
most of the teams are like short season teams.
Yeah.
A lot of the New York Penn League is going to get eliminated, which is sad in a way because they've been around for like 120 years. But it'll probably be a great opportunity, for the independent teams leagues, to jump on those, the short season teams, like from June to Labor Day. And this will all probably be, figured out within the next month or so, because a lot of these minor league teams have to, they have to draw up schedules and, get to stadiums. And so, there'll be more news on that front within the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. Thanks, Jack. I didn't know about that. I haven't.
They just released that news this week. But it's interesting. Right after the minor league season ends, within 10 days, a week, 10 days, they'll move franchises and stuff and, move affiliates. So one of the things, like the Yankees have a minor league team in Charleston, and Charleston will probably still have a franchise, but it might not be the Yankees. In Staten Island, that team might just get eliminated.
Wow. Yeah, it's like with the way this year's been going, sports, I haven't been keeping my ears, I haven't been listening as much as I normally would, because this year's just been crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good basketball's playing and hockey and football, but for the most part, it's a shit show with all the political stuff and the black national anthem. I mean, what can you say?
And hopefully, even though baseball watching it seems really weird with no fans, this next week, facing Toronto 7 times in 10 days, it could determine the season for the Yankees.
Yeah. They'll hold on to the 8th spot unless they go, 3-11. But, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, at least there's something on that brings a little enjoyment.
Yeah, because their starting pitching has pitched well the last 5 games, but their hitting, it except for the doubleheader yesterday, really hasn't been there. So hopefully, things, guys start, heating up a little bit, and maybe the return of Judge and Stanton will happen at just the right time. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still some interest out there.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that I can't believe it, the fingers crossed that the Yankees make the postseason. I mean, it was a short thing that they were going to, be in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, the other day it's like they have a big series coming up with the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, and it's a team they beat the hell out of the last few years. I mean, my God, wow.
Yeah, they won 19 games in a row in Camden Yards, and then the Orioles won 3 in a row. And it's like,
yeah,
what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, Baltimore the last time they took 3 out of 4 against the Yankees, and then Toronto beat up on them, and at least now the Yankees took 3 out of won the first 3 against Baltimore, and hopefully the 7 games against Toronto they can win those series.
Yeah, I mean the other day I'm watching the Yankees in Toronto, and the Yanks were ahead 6-2, and I left the house and I come back, and Toronto scores 10 runs.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm glad my phone's broken.
I remember that game because they brought in Chad Green, and he gave up, I think, 4 runs. And then they brought in Ottavino, and you could tell Ottavino just did not have his stuff. And they just, for some reason, Boone left him in there, and he wound up giving up a grand slam. And they scored 10 runs in the inning, and it was like, son of a bitch. I mean, Boone to me this year, as with it being a shortened season, you can see little things. I mean, he was, he pulls his starters too soon sometimes, and other times he lets them go. He doesn't handle the pitching staff all that well, and I don't know if it's his fault or if he's just going by a script, which he uses a lot. He says, this is our script today. So I don't know if it's him or the analytical department saying this is when you pull the pitcher. So who knows?
Yeah, it's been a rough year for pitchers. Maybe they do need 6 weeks of spring training.
Yeah,
I mean, 10 runs. One scores 10 runs. I think last night or 2 nights ago, the Mets scored 10 runs against Toronto. The Braves beat the Marlins 29-9. It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I mean 29 runs. I mean, my God. I mean, talk about players having a great day. Wow.
What do they have? Unlimited arc? They're playing.
Yeah, there should have been a mercy rule in effect.
Yeah, one pitch tournament or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's been a weird season, like these 7-inning doubleheaders and, having a man on second base to start extra innings. It's a little weird for someone who's, I like it's a traditional baseball to me. It's changed a little bit too much from my taste. I mean, I still watch and I'm interested, but just my heart's not in it as much as it once was.
No, I agree with you. I'm the same way. It's like, okay, it's the Yankees, but it's not the same.
Yeah. And it even just feels different. I don't know. I mean, like I was saying off air, I'm used to, you got your leadoff hitter, and then, your number 2 guy who tries to advance your leadoff hitter, and your number 3 hitter who's your overall best hitter who tries to drive him in. And then, you got your cleanup hitter. It just seems like people, you had a defined role. And now it just seems the lineups are mixed and matched to whoever they're facing. Whatever the numbers, the analytics tell you is what the lineup is going to be. And it's just different from when, it was growing up as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the batting averages, it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, Aaron Hicks, who's batting .207, is your number 3 hitter. I mean, if I was growing up, as a kid and saw that, I mean, he wouldn't last. I mean, you don't bat a guy third hitting .207 on the season. Yeah.
I remember one year in '68, Roy White hit fourth, and he hit .268. Which in 1968, was actually good.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, like, when you get into the postseason, especially deep in the postseason, you're facing great pitching, and if you're someone who has a high on base percentage because of walks, That's not going to happen. So in the postseason, you've got to be able to hit. And when you have your number 3 hitter who can't hit but can draw walks, it's just not going to happen in the postseason.
No, eventually you have to have somebody drives you in.
Yeah, you need some. It's like that saying: "Great pitching beats great hitting." You need guys that can hit in that lineup if you want to win.
Yeah. Yep.
So, well, we'll see what happens.
Okay, Robert, you want to wrap it up, or?
Yeah. Do the show next week around Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, well, I'll keep my phone out of the rain. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And hopefully by then I'll know how to use it. But that's good, Robert. It's always good to talk. Baseball.
Yeah, and hopefully when we talk, we're still in the mix of the postseason, because I don't know. I'm worried about this team, its inability right now to produce runs. So hopefully the pitching continues and we eke out some wins this week, and at least jump the Blue Jays. If we can get ahead of the Blue Jays, I'll stop worrying a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where we stand on Thursday and Friday, Robert.
Yeah.
We can talk again.
Sounds good, Jack. You take care. Pleasure.
Okay.
Pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure. Take care now.
Take care.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.